What if? What if you did it? Today's episode is probably going to either resonate with you or piss you off. That's just the way it's going to be. This is a podcast that's meant to motivate and to want to push you. So that's what we're going to talk about. What if you had an idea, or maybe you have something that you've always wanted to do and you just never did it? What if you did it? What if you went after it? What if you chased it? What if you quit the bullshit and said, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done lying to myself. I'm going to go after this. What if? I think more people need to ask themselves that. And I think there would be a lot more success in this world if people just quit the excuses, quit listening to that inner bitch voice in their head and just went after it. So, I posted a thing on social media today, basically stating what if. And that's something that I ask myself all the time. If, whenever I have an idea in my head or something that I continue to think about, it's a goal. I ask myself, what if? What if I go after that? What if you go after it? And, you know, what if you ignore the naysayers? You cut out all the bullshit out of your life and you stop being so lazy. You quit the excuses and you say, I'm going to go after this. And it can be anything, but, people let the excuses get in the way of that success. A lot of times people get started and they will barely get started. In the first second, things start to go difficult, or it doesn't go the way they want it to, or there's a major setback, or, an inconvenience. It's no longer convenient for them to go after, they quit. And you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want this? That's a saying that a lot of people hate. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, I have this goal in front of me. I said, I want to do this. And when the going gets tough, you have to get tough and you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want this? Do I really want this? Because if you don't want it, then sit down and shut the hell up and quit your bitching. It's the bottom line. You know, um, we can complain all we want. We can make excuses. We can tell others, we can make as many excuses as we want. But at the end of the day, if you want a change in your life, you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want this change? And if tell yourself, I don't want it that bad, then you don't want it that bad. Or you let something hinder you from reaching that goal that you have, or, maybe it's a job or a project or a podcast like this. This is something that I talked about over and over in my head of doing. And I finally said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it, man. I don't care what people think. I don't care what people, are going, I'm sure people are going to think this is ridiculous or they're going to laugh at it. But at the end of the day, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to do it. So you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want this? And I've asked people this in the past. And the moment I ask how bad you want it, I always get the same answer. It's always the same answer. It's not, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. It's, well, or I'm gonna start, or why I have kids, or my schedule, or I don't have the time. And my response to that is, well, then I guess you don't want it that bad. And whenever I say that, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm really not. But that's the fact. That's the fact of the matter. You have to ask yourself that. And if you're not willing to do whatever it takes, then I guess you don't want it that bad. It's bottom line. Regardless, it doesn't matter. And I will relate this to my own personal life. When I was in the hospital and I couldn't lift weights, I had hand crushers. I still kept myself active. Or, whenever I had IVs on my hands, shit hurt. Okay, then I guess I'm doing crossword puzzles, something to keep my mind going. or Sudoku, something. It doesn't matter what it was. I was going to work on something or read a book, or whenever I tore my rotator cuff at one fucking arm, one arm, and I still said, you know what? I'm still lifting weights. I still want to keep do something physical. I still want to keep myself strong, as strong as I can, because this will only make my comeback so much easier if I at least try, make an attempt. Even if it's only my left side, I'm still doing something. It's good physically, it's good mentally. I'm keeping the dark thoughts out of my head, because at the end of the day, in those situations, it's very easy to go dark. It's very easy to become negative, have negative thoughts, and you have to stay positive no matter what, no matter what. And in a lot of the situations, I was by myself. I spent a lot of time by myself. Or, whenever I learned crutches, I could have said, this sucks. This hurts. I don't want to do this. Well, I guess you don't want fucking want to do it. But no, I said I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to learn how to do it. If I want to better myself, I want to be more independent, then this is what it's going to take to do it. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And that's what you have to ask yourself. You know, you have to ignore the people around you because you're going to have a lot of criticism. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to laugh at you. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to think your goal is stupid or you're crazy for doing this. You're going to see that all the time. And it seems like people don't want to see you, like they want to see you do good, but they don't want to see you do better than them, I think is what it comes down to. Or if it's something that they're too afraid of doing, they immediately try to stop you from going after it. And you have to ignore that negative shit. Or you take those negative voices and you turn that into a source of drive. Record those in your head and just play it. Whenever you don't want to do it, play it in your head and say, just remind yourself of what those people said and go after it. No matter what, just go after it, man. And you will be surprised how much that negativity that people put on you, how much positive will come out of it and how much and how far you will go. Obviously, you have to remember at the end of the day, I'm doing this for myself, but for motivational purposes and to drive yourself, that's what it takes. I have a lot of different things that I use to motivate myself. Sometimes it's watching old lifting videos. Maybe it's, whenever I set a world record, or maybe it's whenever I bombed or dumped 350 pounds on my fucking face. Whatever it is, you know, I use that to hype me up some days. Or, I listen to a lot of motivational videos. Sometimes I'll listen to it going to the gym. Or when I wake up in the morning, something I started doing in the last 3 months is I listen to a motivational video on YouTube every morning. Just, 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll play them in the vehicle whenever I'm on my way to the gym or even work, whatever it is, or music. I use music sometimes. I have so many different sources that I dive into, a Rolodex of things to fuel me. Maybe it's thinking about something I've overcome, a surgery, or something somebody has said to me in the past. I take that and I apply it to what it is I'm doing that day, and I go after it. And I say, no matter what, this is what we're doing. I don't have a choice. This is, I'm waking up in the morning. I'm going to the gym regardless. This is what I'm doing. No one's going to stop me. Nothing is going to stop me. This is what I set that alarm for. This is what I'm going after. This is what I'm doing. And I have a lot of other things that I'm working on, but I'm not really talking about those yet because I'm still in the beginning planning phases of them. But, for me right now, losing weight is the one big thing in my life that I can control. And I've really focused in on it. And I think for me, waking up in the morning when the world is still asleep is so motivating to me. And I tell myself that, you know what I mean? Like most people they're still asleep. And I'm going after this because this is what I want to do. But like it drives me knowing that there's not a lot of other people in this world that are doing that. And even if that's bullshit, I tell myself that. It motivates me. It pushes me. It makes me want to do more and do better. And I try to remind myself every day, how bad do you want this? Or I will tell myself, keep going, Keith. Keep going, Keith. Like, and that might sound ridiculous, but sometimes that's all it takes is just reminding yourself, like, no matter what, we're not going to quit. This is what you want. This is what we're going to go after. And there's been times where I've quit, like I have had, I've lost weight 2 times in my entire life that were like major weight loss. When I was 18, I lost a lot of weight. I lost probably over 50 pounds. And then whenever I got into sled hockey, I lost over 50 pounds. And something I noticed with both of those times is I reached a point where I was comfortable and it was enough for me. Like I was like, okay, I'm happy. And I will say this time's different. Like it's getting to the point where I keep asking myself, what if? What if you saw how far you could take this? Why not? Go after it, man. And that's what I'm doing. I'm chasing it. Like, so with my weight loss, I take it by five. I cannot get comfortable this morning. Holy crap. I take my weight loss by 5 pound increments. So basically, once I reach a 5 pound increment, I kind of pat myself on the back, celebrate that win, and I have it on my dream board of every 5 pounds. And when I hit that 5 pounds, I pull that off the board. And that for me is a win. It's a small win, but it's still a win. I cherish that and I'll tell a couple people. I have a couple people in my life that, kind of supported me through this. And one person, they're going through a weight loss journey as well. So we kind of feed off of each other. They'll tell me where they're at, I'll tell them where they're at. And I try to give them words of encouragement to continue pushing. And, honestly, it's great because weight loss can be something that you're alone on because, like I said before, a lot of people don't understand that or they don't want to understand it because it's something that is too hard for them. They don't want to try. So, it's nice to have those couple people to just kind of like, say, hey, this is where I'm at. Kind of accountability partners, I guess you could say. And but something else, this is something that really pisses me off that people have said to me. So I'm in a wheelchair. I've been in a wheelchair since birth, so like I've been paralyzed. So of course I have no muscle in my legs. My legs are smaller than the rest of my body. Technically I'm shorter than I'm supposed to be. My arms are over 3 foot long. I should probably be over 6.5 foot, if it wasn't for my disability. And this is a real kick in the face when people say this to me. They'll say, "Oh, well, your legs are smaller." So, and I'm like, "The fuck's that supposed to mean?" I'll tell them my weight loss. They're like, "Oh, well, yeah, you're down to that. That's because your legs are smaller." I'm like, "Who the fuck cares? Just because just because my legs are smaller doesn't discredit the work that I've put into this. Doesn't discredit the fact that I've worked my ass off for this." Or they'll say that, and I'm sitting there thinking like, "Yeah, I'm in a fucking wheelchair." For me to burn a calorie, it takes me a hell of a lot more effort than it does somebody walking. Give it a Google, research it. You know, um, for like my chair, for me to do a mile of cardio in my chair, I barely burn any calories. That's why most of the time, whenever I do cardio, it's either on a bike or on my ski machine. Because my chair, there's like, it takes forever to burn calories on a wheelchair. I mean, and that's like pushing. It's just you do not get the same amount out of it as you do a bike or skiing or a row machine, but the effort, it just, and I like getting on my chair. I like to mix it up, but or something else. This one really pisses me off. Or when people will say, you don't have kids. I don't have kids. Okay, my fucking legs are broke. Are your legs broke? Okay, then it looks like we both have something that we can't relate to. Um, it looks like that's your situation that you need to figure out, just like my situation is mine to figure it out. So when you say that to somebody, just remember, yeah, I we might be different and our situations may be different, but I guess you have to figure it out because I've had to figure my situation out. Nobody did it for me. I did it. So, instead of just saying that and throwing that in my face as an excuse of why you can't get up early or why you can't go to bed early, or okay, yeah, you might not be able to do those things, but we all have the same amount of time at the end of the day. And I'm sure you scroll on your phone. I scroll on my phone, but at the same time, like I make sure I show up. I make sure I put in the time to be able to do whatever it is that I'm going to do that day. So take your bullshit excuse and throw it out the window because I'm not here for it. Or even a late one, the latest one is, well, you're not married. You don't have anybody to worry about. Correct. You're right. But I was married and I still found the time to go after my goals, to lose weight, to chase a job, whatever it was. That had nothing to do with it. And yeah, I might have had to do things a little different. My schedule was different so that I could spend time with my spouse, but I still went after those things. So stop using your bullshit excuses on me of why you can't do something. Quit lying to yourself and go do it. I'm a little feisty today, I think. But I think a lot of people need to hear this because there's way too many excuses that go around in this world. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want this? Am I going to continue to listen to these bullshit excuses in my head, or am I going to go after this and say, no matter what, even if I fail, I'm going to go after this? And don't get me wrong, I fail all the time. Like this weight loss journey, it's been tough. Th- this has been the hardest, not only because of my age. After I turned 30, losing weight got so much more difficult. I think part of that is because my metabolism slowed down. I couldn't work out like a madman. Whenever I was playing sled hockey, I could skate for 4 hours a day and then I could go lift for 2 hours and feel fine. Now that I'm 34, I'm a little beat up now. And I know I'm only 34, blah, blah, blah. I'm not 50 or 60. Once again, I don't want to hear your bullshit. But the bottom line is it's gotten to the point where I realize that I can't just work out like a madman. I've had to, take my rest more serious. I've had to dial in my diet more. And, I like I said, I've fluctuated. I like to treat myself as everyone should. I feel that if you don't treat yourself, if you don't reward yourself, yeah, it's going to be a lot harder on you. So I like pizza. Pizza's my big weakness. And in the last 6 or 7 months, I started making my own pizzas to the point that like I feel my pizzas taste like a restaurant grade pizza. So shit's good. And Friday night will roll around, Saturday will roll around. I'm like, I'm gonna make pizza. And so I will make a pizza for myself and I'll eat that pizza. But I remind myself that okay, we did this, but I still worked out that day. I still applied myself and I treated myself, but tomorrow we're gonna get back on it. Or just like, if I have like some snacks at work, okay, we did that, but still we need to stay disciplined as much as we can in other areas and remember the goal. Remember, like where you're at with your weight, what you want to be at, and don't lose sight of that. Don't quit on yourself. No matter what, this is what we need to do. Enjoy it now, but tomorrow morning you're going to get your ass up and you're going to go to the gym again, regardless. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and that includes if you have a migraine. And I say that because something that used to happen to me whenever I would eat real bad is I would get a migraine. It seemed like I would wake up with a migraine. And I think a lot of it was due to caffeine or sugar. And I would wake up with a migraine and like I would get migraines to the point that like it would make me nauseous. And I would still try to go to the gym. I would still show up. I would, just move my body, which I think that's a good place to go. Um, even on those days where you're sore, maybe you hurt yourself, still make an attempt to move your body. And like, even if that just means going through the motions, showing up to the gym, or even just going for a walk, show up and do that. Do that physical activity. You'll feel better afterwards. You will always feel better after, applying yourself to whatever goal it is, but show up and just at least do something, and I think even for people that are just starting out, you don't have to go all in. I mean, I think going all in is the best, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that cannot just jump into something. It's easy to say dive in, which I try to apply myself to that because that's the type of person I am, especially when it comes to sports. Or if I get an idea in my head, I do that because I understand if I go all in on this, the chances of me succeeding are so much more likely that it will be to the point that like I won't fail because like I'm willing to do whatever it takes to reach that goal. But if you're not at that point, if you don't have that drive, just start. Just start somewhere. It can be 15 minutes. I don't care what it is. Just start. It can be the slightest movement. Just start somewhere. And you will build off of that. That momentum will grow as you see a weight loss, or maybe you notice yourself toning up, or you notice that you're able to breathe easier, you're starting to feel better, or maybe those migraines went away that you're always having. Maybe you have, because I know a lot of people that get migraines every day. And I understand that some people, there's there's a reason why they get them. It's a medical reason, and they've been to the doctor and they're on something to try to prevent that. And I respect that. I get that. There's a lot of people out there, you get migraines because you're fucking addicted to caffeine. And you know why you're addicted to caffeine? Because you're fucking tired and lazy. Man, I'm really hitting you with the truth today. You're tired and lazy. And why are you tired and lazy? Because you don't do anything. You do the bare minimum. If you start moving your body and you start working your way to being a healthier version of yourself, you won't need that caffeine. It will reach a point where you won't need that. And I know it sounds crazy, but you won't. Listen, I used to take 1,000 milligrams of caffeine when I was powerlifting. I used to take 2 scoops of Mr. Hyde. One time I mixed it with Red Bull. Terrible idea. Don't recommend that. But I used to take I used to take a dry scoop of powder, stick it in my lip, and drive to the gym. And on the way to the gym, I was ready to rip the fucking steering wheel off. So like I've been there. I used to take high amounts of caffeine to be amped up for the gym, to be amped up for a big lift or a big day in the gym. Like Saturday mornings was a day that like those were the heavy lifting days. So I would load up the caffeine and go to the gym. Now it's just 2 scoops of espresso. I do a double shot of espresso and that's it. And I have lifted without caffeine too. And I will say that motivation, that drive, once it's there, you're willing to do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter if you have caffeine or not. You're willing to do whatever it takes. So, as you do more, the need for that will go away. Those migraines may possibly go away because more than likely you're addicted to caffeine, and that's the bottom line. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's facts. Like, are you drinking a bottle of Mountain Dew for breakfast? Well, maybe there's your problem. It's facts, and I might be sounding like an asshole, but that's truth. Or maybe you notice that the caffeine is not doing anything for you anymore. Yeah, it's because you're addicted to it. I had the same issue with pre-workout. I almost said protein. Pre-workout did the same thing for me, where it reached a point where I was like, this isn't doing anything for me. And I would purposely back it off before I'd go back up, or I would cut the pre-workout for a little bit so that I would feel it again, so that it would amp me up again. So, just I want you to know the benefits of just saying what if, and asking yourself, how bad do I want this? That's my goal with this podcast, is to motivate and to want to push people into doing something that, maybe is lingering in the back of their head. I want to see people do great shit, man. Like, friends around me, I love seeing people succeed. I love, coworkers. I love seeing a coworker, overcome something, or, maybe they started a area of work they've never done or they're uncomfortable in. I love seeing them move up. That's such a good feeling as somebody that's in management. I love seeing people succeed. So, if you're going to take anything from today's episode is I want you to ask yourself, how bad do I want this? And what if? Adapt, overcome, and conquer. It's bottom line. So, that's all I have for today. And don't forget to follow along at the Stitch Time podcast. And till next time, guys, ask yourself, how bad do I want this? Later.